Hello everyone, it is I, That Kelhorn Guy, and I'm here to show you basic tone production and tonguing on the Kelhorn. Most Kelhorn players are probably recorder players, and they think that playing the Kelhorn is going to be just like playing the recorder, but it's not. On the recorder, and this is a Susato, wide bore soprano, you want a constant flow of air, but under no pressure. Just a lot of air going through the instrument. And as long as you are covering all the finger holes, the sound will come out at the right pitch. Everything is fine. But on the Kelhorn, you have to have the air under a constant pressure, even though very little air is coming out. Now that's a very different concept. So you have to practice it. So to start off with, I'm just going to play a G on my soprano Kelhorn here. Isn't it a beauty? Yes, it is. Just going to play a G. If you have an alto or a bass, it will be a C. But on the soprano or tenor, it's a G. I'm just going to play so I get a good, steady note. Now, in order to do that, you've got to use your tongue properly. I am articulating with my tongue like I am saying the syllable tu. And you notice the shape of my mouth. The shape of your mouth has to be correct. Like you're saying tu. So all of this focus is right in front of your mouth. You don't want to puff out your cheeks. You want to have an open throat, and you want to have a good supply of air coming up from your diaphragm, from your lower abdomen. But the focus is all right in front of the mouth. So you want a constant pressure, but very little air comes out. That's very different than the recorder. So the first thing to try is using the syllable tu to both start and end the note. Try that G. I'm actually going tu, tu. So I'm putting that tu on the end as well. Of course, I'm not vibrating my vocal cords. So don't say tu, just everything is that shape except don't use a vocal cord. So it's and notice the focus is right here. The focus is right here. The mouth is channeling the air, just like the vowel tu, ooh. Notice that channel of air when you say that vowel. And again, we want an open throat, lots of air coming up from the abdomen. But this is where the control is. A narrow channel in the front of your mouth. Make sure you go at the beginning of every note, and at the end of a phrase where you might have a rest or end of a piece, you also want to put a final on it as well. You can't just stop breathing, or you'll get that. You'll get the squawk, and you don't want that. You've got to have. Now, when you are playing more notes, you only use the tu at the beginning of the note. I'm going tu, 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 tu. It's only the last note where there's be a rest, or it's the end where I'm putting the final tu on there. So the beginning of one note is the end of the note before. You've got to keep that constant pressure. If you're a recorder player or almost any other woodwind, you may be used to making a nice, lovely, tapered sound at the beginning and the end. You can't do that on Kelhorn. It's one straight tone, like a bagpipe. And let me get the fingers correctly. Now, once you have gotten the G, you want to try some other notes. Now, if I'm going from one note to the other, the beginning of one note is the end of the other note. If I'm putting space between, I actually have to use my tongue on both ends. And that way you have a constant pressure. Once you have done that, and those notes sound pretty good, you want to practice the scale. So on the very bottom, the C scale. That time I went toot, 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 toot to put space in between. You also might want to try where there's no space and the beginning of the note is the end of the note before. Those are basically the only tonguings you can do on the Kelhorn. You can't use all the subtle, soft tonguing you can on the recorder. It's all that, no variation on it. I would highly recommend you get this book if you don't already have it. The Capped Reeds Companion. You can get it from the Susato, the Kelhorn Workshop webpage. It's produced by the Susato Press. It's an excellent book. You should read all of the information at the beginning and do all the exercises. Once you have gotten that scale so the notes sound pretty good, etc., try doing 4 notes per pitch like this. And if the notes aren't coming out like that, then you're blowing too hard. If it's kind of weak and squawky, then you're not blowing hard enough. So you've got to find that sweet spot in there. And practice, no substitute for practice. Practice until you can get that good, consistent tone on every note. It will not be very good at first, like any other instrument. You'll have lots of squeaks and squawks and notes that don't play until you can get that feeling of the constant pressure with very little air coming out, all focused here. But all it takes is practice. So try it out, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Happy buzzing.